Welcome to Data Science Guide for PASS Summit 2014. My name is MarkTab. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a scientific roadmap for data science at PASS Summit 2014. My name is MarkTab. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I'm also a SAS expert. I've been working with data science and machine learning technologies. My primary role is as a consultant, and as you see in the picture there, I'm also wearing the t-shirt with the logo for Azure Machine Learning and holding also my flask there as a prop. I also do training and offer training in machine learning. I do teaching part-time with the University of Phoenix in the School of Advanced Studies, where I'm mentoring doctoral dissertations, and I presented at a number of conferences. I connect with people on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Twitter at MarkTabNet. This guy is going to be our little helper during this presentation, and you're going to see him throughout the presentation, and he's going to show you a little bit more about the things to be happy about for Data Science for PASS Summit 2014. The outline of this short promo is to give an overview of data science and PASS Summit, give some presentation summaries and details, and then give some action steps on how you can prepare before PASS Summit. So let's go right into the overview of data science. What is data science? It's the process of discovering patterns or models from data. It comprises, in alphabetical order, data mining, machine learning, and predictive analytics. These terms have specific definitions I've used in many presentations. For our purposes, we're going to consider them equivalent as far as PASS Summit is concerned. What is PASS Summit? Now, PASS Summit is a conference. It's a paid conference. It's going to be in Seattle, Washington, and the dates are November 5th through 7th of this year. There's going to be a few pre-conference sessions before November 5th, but the main conference is from November 5th to November 7th. And for this conference, the organizers are anticipating 52 countries represented and about 5,000 attendees. There's a link here, and I'm going to be posting this slide deck so you'll be able to register for PASS Summit. Now let's talk about the presentation summary and details. These are presentations that will be done during PASS Summit. Now, I've categorized them into these 4 rows. The first row here is a keynote presentation, and there's going to be one of those. Pre-conference, there's going to be 3 presentations I feel that are going to talk about aspects of data science. And as far as the sessions, we have 5 sessions that will be talking partly, if not entirely, about data science. And as far as the details, now we're going to look at each presentation in succession. I'm going to comment on each one and give you an idea of what to expect for PASS Summit. We're going to look at these sessions on advanced analytics, and then secondly, we're going to map the sessions to Microsoft technology and the CRISP DM model. And some of you might be saying, what is the CRISP DM model? Here's the CRISP DM model. It stands for Cross-Industry Standard Practice for Data Mining. It is a standard model that shows the data mining process, but again, for our purposes, data mining, machine learning, predictive analytics, we're going to consider them equivalent terms. And yes, DM is data mining, but of course the model applies to machine learning and predictive analytics. So here's the main keynote session that you want to attend for data science, and the individual you want to focus on is Joseph Sirach, who's in the rightmost photograph. He was recently taken from Amazon, and of course he chose to come to Microsoft and now leads the data science effort, and specifically the Azure machine learning area. So he will be talking about Azure machine learning, and of course this will be a level 100 presentation. So I put a checkbox here. We have Microsoft Azure as a data platform in the center, and he will be generally talking about it, may provide a demo, but don't expect necessarily to go out and just do it based on a 100 level presentation. It's just an overview of the technology. There's a pre-conference by Adam and John. They are going to be talking about big data, level 300, and specifically they are mentioning technologies related to Hadoop. I put check boxes on most of the boxes. They may get into evaluation of models. I don't know. If they do, then that's an extra bonus. But basically, the focus of their presentation is Hadoop. There's another pre-conference, and this is Carlos. This will be on November 3rd. He's going to be generally talking about SQL Server data mining and the Microsoft ecosystem in general. So I would anticipate he's going to be talking about Excel and SQL Server. He may talk about Azure Machine Learning, but I expect him to talk about all the boxes in the data mining process. His session was rated at 200. I think it could be rated at a 300 level session, but 200-300, somewhere in that range. And third pre-conference here are going to be Brian and Devin are going to talk about SQL Server Integration Services. And they're going to talk about mostly the data motion and processing. So we're going to talk more in this presentation. I would anticipate them talking about the data preparation, the business understanding, and maybe even deploying final results. Now let's talk about some sessions. Here's a 200 level session on November 6th. This one focuses more on the business understanding. This is Dan's session and talking about whether we need data modeling, what is the right schema for machine learning. And these questions are important to understand, focusing on the business and not starting necessarily with the data. And of course, I find that a good approach to be able to enter an analytics project and not just start with data, but start with what the business questions are. Reza is going to be talking about deeper data insight and prediction with data mining, and the focus there will be SSAS, so we can expect more of the technical details here. In the presentation description, you see market basket analysis, association rules, and clustering. Raymond's presentation will be doing Azure Machine Learning, a 200 level presentation. The core technology there is Microsoft Azure Machine Learning, so that's a different scope compared to SQL Server. And it's cloud-based technology, but again, it's a 200 level presentation. It's a good way to see how the predictive analytics model is built in a deeper level than might be in the Keynote. Now let's go to 300. 300 is a higher level session and deals with all aspects of the technology and the details. So we have Nishant and Karan will be talking about Microsoft Azure Machine Learning and applied specifically to what they call large volume of data. And if you're going to this presentation, feel free to ask them, how large is large? And they may give you some numbers and give you an idea of what you're able to do with this cloud technology. And then Parmita will be talking about Azure Machine Learning. She's also done a presentation for Channel 9 if you want to look that presentation up. Of the presentations here, she will be explicitly talking about R and Microsoft Azure Machine Learning. And as I remember, I think Carlos also will be talking about R during the pre-conference session and giving you some ideas of the comparison and contrast. But because Azure Machine Learning allows R scripting, that's an important thing to know as far as R. Now this somewhat complex slide has 4 rows encompassing the technologies for the Microsoft Data Platform. And it does include Office, includes Azure, includes SQL Server. We have 4 rows here. BI and Analytics is the first row. The second row, Data Enrichment and Federated Query. The third row, Data Management and Processing. And the fourth row, Infrastructure. I'm going to place green check boxes on the areas that will be covered if you go to everything during the conference, which of course is impossible because some of these sessions happen at the same time, but if you had the ability to see all of them, you would see self-service, because I believe the Excel add-in for data mining gives people a self-service ability for data science. You will see some of the predictive modeling that's available, especially through SQL Server Analysis Services, but also Azure ML. We have the single query model. We are able to query off a specific database, and that need not be SQL Server. Data sources can include Azure, they can include Oracle, SAP, they can include MySQL. You can read from Teradata, from anywhere where you would have an ODBC or an OLADB connection. The extract, transform, and load checkbox there represents the SQL Server integration services, but of course also you can do some amount of data manipulation if you're working in Excel. Relational data sources are included. We have some big data considerations with Hadoop. Analytical, meaning cubes like SSAS. There will be talk a little bit about streaming during the big data presentation. Internal and external data sources, like I said, they need not be from Microsoft to be able to use with this data mining technology. And also a discussion of scalability, because every solution and technology here is designed to scale. So, happy guy in the lower left corner representing 10 checkboxes. Action steps. What can you do to prepare for this presentation? Here are some links. First of all, the machine learning blog on technet.com. Now you'll see Joseph Sirash blogging, and also people from his team and his friends at Microsoft. Not only Azure machine learning, but all machine learning technologies. And again, for the purposes of our discussion, machine learning, data mining, predictive analytics mean the same thing these days. But this blog is now called Machine Learning. There is a forum where you can ask questions specifically on Azure machine learning. There's a website specifically dedicated to SQL Server data mining, and then my blog at marktab.net. What about advanced questions? During PASS Summit, there will be what the website calls SQL Server Clinic, and this is in room 4C. I will read it as it says. Work through your technical issues with top Microsoft customer service and support, CSS, engineers, and get an architectural guidance from the SQL Server Customer Advisory Team, SQL Cat and SQL Tiger team. So this is where you can go to get your advanced questions answered. Room 4C, and that will be during the conference, so make sure that you stop by there. Now, one thing I will have to say, SQL Cat's actually changed their name. They are now Azure Cat, and you'll see their presence now on MSDN. You don't have to wait for the conference. Azure Cat will be there on the web, and they are active on social media. So if you have some questions that are of an advanced nature, know that you can ask these advanced questions even during the year. By going to PASS Summit, you have the chance to see people in person. And what about me? Where will I be? So I'm not presenting at PASS Summit. I did volunteer to be at the Community Zone. Community Zone's an area where you can network with other people who are conference attendees or people representing the community. And you can feel free to ask me all your questions about data science if you find me around the conference. I'm going to be tweeting at MarkTab.net, and this Community Zone is just a good place to hang out and meet and network with people. Previous to PASS Summit, I will be at SQL Saturday, Oregon, and I'm going to be doing a pre-conference there in Power BI and a presentation on certification for SQL Server 2014. So if you are in Portland, Oregon, I will be there. During PASS Summit, I will also be presenting at the Seattle Business Intelligence Meetup, which is November 5th. If you plan to attend that event, the organizers ask you to RSVP on meetup.com. You can see the link there for that event. At that presentation, I will be presenting an introduction to Azure machine learning. So, some final recommendations. First of all, bring a laptop, especially for the pre-conference sessions. You may also want to bring an extra battery and certainly your power cords, and don't forget that, but certainly bring your laptop to the different sessions. Bring written questions. So, many people like to plan out their PASS Summit schedule. It's also good to take an extra minute to write down your own questions. Whether or not you ask them, just to remind yourself what it is or the reason that you're personally choosing to attend certain presentations. And then meet at least one person in every presentation. So we go to conferences to meet and network with people. You don't necessarily have to give your card. You can if you want. Some people are very active on social media, other people are not. And you say, well, how do I meet a person that seems like everybody knows everybody? Well, I can assure you that in 5,000 people, there are going to be a lot of new people and people that don't know other people. And I can tell you, having gone to many of these types of conferences, I will know a lot of people, but I don't know even most of the people. It's impossible, not in an audience of 5,000 people. So a good way to meet people is to ask a question, and I will give everyone a question to ask. We're talking about in the context of data science. You can ask the question, what interests you about data science? So there's a question you can ask. You can find out about people beyond just their name or where they work. You can have maybe a conversation before or after a presentation session. Seattle's a really beautiful city, and I've been doing presentations there, going to conferences since 2002. You know, they say the moon kind of looks larger when it's close to the horizon. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to be visually true. And this conference should be a great conference. I hope to see you there.